Exactly a year ago, I made a video talking about 8 lessons from Fyodor Dostoevsky. Today, I'll sum up Leo Tolstoy's philosophy into 8 lessons. Just like the characters in his novels, Tolstoy was obsessed with life's meaning and purpose. In today's world, our struggle is not against the natural elements as much as against other people. So Tolstoy focused his creative energy on how we navigate society. If Dostoevsky was a psychologist, Tolstoy was a sociologist or social psychologist. Leo Tolstoy, born in 1828 into a wealthy aristocratic family, grew up to pursue women, wine, and gambling. After years of hedonistic pleasures, he joined the army to fight in the Crimean War of 1850s. He then traveled around Europe and wrote some novels and married an 18-year-old woman. After meeting Victor Hugo in Paris, he was inspired to write a big novel. War and Peace, considered the greatest novel of all time, was followed by his other masterpiece, Anna Karenina. Now he was the greatest Russian novelist. But in 1880s, Tolstoy renounced his novels for spreading immorality, called for a ban on sex, confessed his religious belief, and gave away his wealth. He founded schools for the peasants and started wearing peasant clothes. He even became a shoemaker. Later, he criticized organized religion by advocating a type of Christian anarchy and was swiftly expelled from the Russian Orthodox Church. Tolstoy became a pacifist, which influenced Mahatma Gandhi. In 1910, he escaped his wife. While on the run, he caught cold and died at a train station. He had 13 children and 14 novels and many short stories. Today, Tolstoy stands alongside Shakespeare, Dante, Dickens, and Dostoevsky. So what can we learn from him? Let's begin. Lesson 1. Heaven and hell are other people. For Tolstoy, society is the source of our miseries but also our profoundest happiness. In all his novels, Tolstoy tried to understand an individual's place among groups, i.e. family, society, or nation. Whether you are poor or rich, we all struggle with our family, church, society, or country. In War and Peace, Tolstoy chronicles the lives of 5 families before, during, and after Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812, and how social and historical events sweep individuals and change their lives forever. For Tolstoy, Napoleon, despite his power, was at the mercy of social events beyond his control, as we are at the mercy of groups, our family, neighborhood, city, and country, and today the whole world. Tolstoy's characters in War and Peace find their families a source of their misery as well as joy. The novel is full of scenes of incredible joy, be it in camaraderie among soldiers, friendship among people, and relationships among partners. Society causes us immense pain, but also provides us with pleasure by comforting, nourishing, and supporting us. But Tolstoy says society is made up of individuals, just as human body is made up of cells. In other words, each individual contributes to the social and historical events, just as a drop of water adds to the ocean. In other words, each individual soldier makes a difference in major wars. So society and groups, despite causing many ills, are also the source of immense joy in our lives. And each individual is responsible for such misery and joy. Lesson 2. Embrace imperfection. After society, our own beliefs are our worst enemy. Quote, "It was evident that he had long been convinced that it was impossible for him to make a mistake, that in his perception whatever he did was right, not because it harmonized with any idea of right or wrong, because he did it." Tolstoy's novel Anna Karenina is about a married woman who abandons her husband and child for a handsome officer. Initially, it's society, her circle of friends and family that punishes her transgression, but she can fight them off. Then, once she attains her goal of having the officer to herself, she starts worrying about losing him, which leads her to extreme jealousy and paranoia that lead her to suicide. Anna believes in perfect happiness and perfect partner in a perfect world. That belief led her to obsess and self-destruct. Our mind wanders in search of ideals and perfection, but it is stuck in an imperfect physical body. Tolstoy says instead of pursuing our own hedonistic pleasures or seeking perfection in life, we should seek fulfillment in our duties towards others, our family, partner, customer, friends, and so forth. Quote, "If you look for perfection, you will never be content." Lesson 3. The greatest joy is when you make others happy, not yourself. Tolstoy believes one's life purpose should be to serve others. Family plays an important role in all Tolstoy's writing. One could say his entire body of work is about family. War and Peace, despite its title, is a family saga. Anna Karenina too is about family. The Death of Ivan Ilyich is about family. In all these novels, individual characters, in pursuit of their happiness, abandon and destroy their family, but only to realize that grass is never greener on the other side. Tolstoy believes we are happiest when we make others happy. Modern neuroscience studies tend to agree with Tolstoy that while giving, our brain releases happy chemicals. Throughout our lives, we receive from others, from our parents, teachers, friends, and strangers in terms of knowledge, skills, financial, and emotional support. So shifting our mind from gaining things to giving things can give your life a deeper meaning. When Tolstoy was 50, he gave away his wealth and founded schools for the peasants, so he believed in education as the best gift to any human being. Quote, "Love is the only way to rescue humanity from all ills." Lesson 4. Art is therapeutic. Tolstoy dedicated his life to writing and storytelling. In an essay, What is Art?, Tolstoy says that art can make us kinder and can bring people together. Quote, "Universal art, by uniting the most different people in one common feeling, by destroying separation, will educate people to union, will show them not by reason but by life itself the joy of universal union reaching beyond the bounds set by life." His novels have been the source of immense pleasure for millions of people over the decades and centuries. For Tolstoy, science cannot replace art because they offer different things. Science brings physical comfort for us through medicine and technology, but art gives us emotional and psychological nourishment through stories. We need both, just like children need both parents to grow up in a healthy environment. Science is a product of reason that provides us with security and provisioning, and art is the product of emotions and passion that offers us meaning and purpose. It is through stories that we learn our deepest values in life. So art penetrates where science cannot reach to steer our feelings, to inspire us to be greater than our own selves. Lesson 5. Death gives life a meaning. In The Death of Ivan Ilyich, Tolstoy tells a story of a successful man of high society who suddenly falls ill and faces an imminent death. He is terrified and asks why a good man like him should suffer such terrible pain. The fear of death is like a terrifying shadow in the family, but his servant, Gerasim, is the only one who is not afraid of death. With the help of Gerasim, Ivan realizes that his life's goal has always been run by selfish pursuit. Gerasim, however, lives an authentic life characterized by compassion. At the end, Ivan wishes to die soon to release his family of the burden of putting up with him. Ivan is no longer afraid of death, and that's when death itself disappears, because death is nothing but fear. The novel is partly Epicurean, who said that since we don't know death, we have nothing to fear, and partly Buddhist, that the more we achieve in life, the harder it is to part with our worldly possessions. Tolstoy suggests the purpose of death is to make us bigger than our selfish pursuits. Death is there to teach us compassion. Lesson 6. We all have our contradictions. Tolstoy says it's a mistake to equate every individual as right or wrong, good or evil, because we all have our flaws and strengths. Quote, "One of the most widespread superstition is that every man has his own special, definite qualities. That a man is kind, cruel, wise, stupid, energetic, apathetic, etc. Men are not like that. Men are like rivers. The water is the same in each and alike in all. But every river is narrow here, is more rapid there, here slower, there broader, now clear, now cold, now dull, now warm. It is the same with men. Every man carries in himself the germs of every human quality, and sometimes one manifests itself, sometimes another, and the man often becomes unlike himself, while still remaining the same man. Tolstoy's characters are not villains or heroes, but ordinary humans who struggle to find their paths in life, and in the process make mistakes, amend those mistakes, contradict themselves, and face the consequences, often tragic. Everyone wants to be loved, happy, and appreciated. Sometimes we do dumb things in the process. The ability to be good is often a privilege in terms of means and application we have at our disposal. Tolstoy was young when his mother died, and he tells us that he tormented himself for thinking he was a bad person because he couldn't cry at his mother's funeral. Lesson 7. It's better to be good than great. Tolstoy believed great men of history are more like fictional characters made into great heroes by historians. Reading about them creates a feeling of envy, so we try to emulate them. In other words, we contribute to their greatness by accepting at a face value. Not only that, we often ignore their misbehaviors or transgression. By participating in this narrative, we perpetuate it. To illustrate this, Tolstoy tells us how a single company, the British East India Company, could rule a vast country like India. Quote, "A commercial company with 30,000 men, not athletes but rather weak and ordinary people, have subdued 200 million vigorous, clever, capable, and freedom-loving people. It's not the English who have enslaved the Indians, but the Indians who have enslaved themselves." How? They have done so by participating in the enslavement of their own people, just as we participate in the narrative around the myth of great men. Tolstoy says that these so-called great men are often petty and small in their everyday lives like everyone else, and often very unhappy because so many things are out of their control. Quote, "In historic events, the so-called great men are labels giving names to events, and like labels they have but the smallest connection with the events itself." In other words, no matter how great, you are not above human condition. You suffer the same. For Tolstoy, great or not great depends on how you treat others. Quote, "There is no greatness where simplicity, goodness, and truth are absent." Lesson 8. Life is a Dream. In Tolstoy's short story, How Much Land Does a Man Need?, a landowner wants to sell land. The condition is, for a fixed amount of money, anyone can claim as large as an area they want. But they must stake the land in one single day. Back home, the protagonist gets greedy and attempts to stake an enormous area of land. And by sunset, he manages to circle his way back, but he has exhausted himself. He collapses and dies. So the answer to how much land does a man need, Tolstoy says, 6 feet of land was all that he needed. Pokam is buried there. It is society that complicates life for us by promoting greed, so it is our own job to simplify our lives. Tolstoy struggled in his own life, especially with sex. In his novel, The Devil, a man commits suicide after falling in love with a second woman, which leads to his dilemma: leave his wife, or kill himself. He decides to kill himself. In Kreutzer Sonata, sex leads to a murder. For most men, sex is their biggest demon. Tolstoy at one point advocated sex should be banned and even humanity should be eradicated. But Tolstoy was also influenced by Arthur Schopenhauer, the German philosopher, who under the influence of Buddhism argued that life is nothing but suffering. This inspired Tolstoy to simplify his life. He gave away his wealth to the poor, wore simple clothes, and started making his own shoes. Quote, "If you want to be happy, be." Tolstoy says as long as we live, we have the chance to be happy. For Tolstoy, life is a dream, so live it to the fullest before waking up. Thank you for watching.